Hey everybody, it's GW Xavier Mohr with More Memories. Thanks for joining, and what we're going to explore today is the new Gingerbread Fun collection, and it's looking at the project recipe that comes with the Gingerbread Fun collection. This recipe you can get from your advisors. You can also access it on my Facebook group store called More Memories CM Store. If you're not a part of that, feel free to search for that. It's also, there's a link, or it's pinned to my features on my More Memories Facebook page, so you can request to join that group too, and that's where I have all of the things I have on hand from Creative Memories for sale, as well through my website on Creative Memories. So this is also posted there, and there will be a guide for this entire layout there as well, because what I'm going to show you today is taking this, which is geared or sized, I should say, in the 12 by 12 size. We're going to make it into scrap journal size, 6 3/4 by 10 inches. So you can see it's going to be a little interesting, and I'm going to change it up just slightly, so we'll see how this goes. So what are you going to need for this project? You'll need your Gingerbread Fun collection papers. And what you're going to need out of that pack, if you're going to follow, I'm going to follow the papers that are in the recipe. So I'm looking for that Starlight Mint, or is it Starburst Mint paper. I'm also going to look for the print of the gingerbread houses. And I'm going to have on hand the sprinkle page. I'll show that to you real quick, this sprinkle page. I'm going to have that on hand. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. I'm thinking if I have enough size of the scrap, I want to just use the Starlight Mint paper, just to kind of keep, my paper intact, pack as much as possible. We're also going to use some caramel cardstock for the gingerbread house and the gingerbread punch. And we're going to need some caramel cardstock as well. So again, out of our Gingerbread Fun pack, we're going to need the... If you're going to follow along with the papers shown in the project recipe, which I'm doing just for ease and simplicity, you can certainly play around and figure out which ones you like better. So we'll need this print, and then we'll also need the gingerbread house print here. Again, caramel cardstock. I have a scrap here, you can see, that I'm going to use for the house. You always use scraps if they work out, so that way you can keep your 12 by 12s in size. And a piece of cranberry cardstock. So, and then of course our scrap journal pages. We're going to need our gingerbread border punch that came with the collection. And I'm also pulling the poinsettia BMC, which is also on sale right now. And I'm going to use that to trim the roof, and I'll show you that in a minute. Hopefully that works out the way I had played with it with scrap paper before. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, we need our 12-inch trimmer, our scrap journal pages, and our adhesives. We're going to need a pencil as well, a ruler, our all-purpose mat, and have a pair of scissors handy. Either micro tip or regular scissors will work as well. So have those handy. Okay. So in this layout, right on the cutting, right, I'm going to actually tackle some of the harder parts first. I'm going to tackle this house first and get that situated before I make any other of my cuts. So I'm going to put my mat to the side here. I'm going to get my caramel cardstock, my 12-inch trimmer. Okay. So what I want to do for the house base is that I want a 4.5 by 8 5/16 cut. That's an interesting size, isn't it? And the resized step-by-step guide I have will have a ruler guide there, so definitely check that to find that 5 1/16 mark, so you don't have to keep rewinding and listen to me tell you where it is. Because who wants to listen to me any more than they have to? Not me. Just kidding. All right, so I got my 4.5. I'm gonna find 8 5/16. 5/16 is the mark between 1/4 and 3/8. So I'm gonna come to my 8 mark. I'm gonna find my 1/4 mark. And if I have my all-purpose tool handy, yes I do. Right. 3/8 is the next longer mark before I get to the 1/2 inch. But the 5/16 mark is this little notch before I hit 3/8. So I'm gonna bring it to that little notch mark and make my cut. Cool. We're gonna come back to the trimmer, so put that aside. Put it to the side real quick. What we're going to then do is get our ruler and our pencil, because we need to make some marks in order to get the angled cut for the rooftop, okay? So in our scrap journal size, so I'm gonna get my ruler, and I'm going to line it up so that it's along here. I have my 4.5 inches. Okay. I want to find the 2 1/4 mark on my ruler, and I'm going to make a pencil mark there. Okay. Then I'm going to turn my ruler to the side. I'm going to angle it. I'm going to come down here lengthwise and line up. I want to find the 2 3/16 mark, which is between 3/4 and 7/8. So I want to come to 2 3/16 mark. Oops, I'm moving my paper a little bit. All right. Get that repositioned here. There we go. So coming to my 2, oh, you know what? I'm not on the paper. That's why it keeps shifting for me. So let me just get this on here a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna come down to my 2. So again, that 3/16 mark is between 3/4 and 7/8. So I'm going to find my 3/4 mark, which is here. Here's my 7/8 mark. Here's my 16th mark in between. I'll make a little notch there with my pencil. You probably can't see it, but it's there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Line it up. Find my 2, find my 3/4, there's my 7/8, here's my 16th mark. And make my little notch with my pencil. So they really should be equidistant. That would be the other trick you could do, is make the one notch, line up your ruler, and if you wanted to, maybe make a faint pencil line over to the edge and then make a darker line at the edge to find that spot, you could do that as well. I'm going to take my trimmer, my paper, and I am going to line up the pencil marks onto the cutting mat cut guide. So I'm going to angle it so that it fits, so that my 2 1/4 mark at the top is here on the cut grid, and my 2 3/16 mark is also at the cut grid line. And then I'm going to cut. Oops, it shifted a little. I'm just going to make sure that's still good. Okay. Cut. I'm just going to flip this around, or I can bring it down on my trimmer. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up that 1/4 mark to my 3/16 mark. It's a little bit away from the edge, so I'm just going to bring my guide helper here down just so that I can angle this some more, and I can get the cut I need. There. I'm just gonna get these pencil marks off, or I can just flip over my paper, it doesn't matter. Whichever you prefer to do. I'm a little bit off, that's okay. Because we're gonna do the roof strips next. Oops, all right. So for the roof trim, we're gonna need a 4.5 by 1/4 inch, or you could go 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch is between 3/4 and 7/8. Or 13/16, sorry, 13/16. So you could just come to the 3/4 mark and make a cut if you want. I'm going to do the 16th mark, the 13/16, which is again between 3/4 and 7/8. Make my cut. And then I need 4.5, and I can get 2 cuts out of this. So bring it to my 4.5 and cut. Put my trimmer aside. And then I'm going to get my poinsettia BMC. What you'd want is a decorative edge BMC for this. Because when I see this, right, it's a gingerbread house. It makes me think of the gingerbread trim on houses that that I saw in Cape Cod back in 2015. 2015, Cape Cod. It was actually Martha's Vineyard I was on. So any kind of edging BMC would probably work. You might want to test it out on some scrap paper first to make sure that the you have enough space and that it doesn't take up the whole 3/16 or 3/4 cut that you have. Another one that might work is the scalloped hearts as well. And so I'm not going to use the paper guide. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do this by hand. I'm going to come up a little bit closer here. I'm going to bring this, because I'm not going to put my paper all the way to the in. I'm going to bring it I'm going to line up the edge of the paper to the edge of the punch there. And I'm going to get just enough in there to cover the whole punch. So you can see here, it's just there. And I'm going to give one punch. And then I'm going to slide it just like we do on the normal BMC. And I'm going to line that up again. And punch again. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So bring that up and over a little bit. just so that it just gets the cutout. Pull up. Line it up. Punch. And I'm good there. I don't need the BMC. And we'll just clean this up a little bit. Oops. All right. So I've got my roof strips here now. So I'm going to put these aside. We'll come back to these because we need to get the other pieces cut next. So the next part, I'm going to take my cranberry cardstock and I'm going to cut a 6 3/4 by 10 inch piece. So here we go, 6 3/4. By 10. Okay. Now you can certainly go ahead and adhere this to your scrap journal page if you want. What I'm going to actually do is cut out a 1/4 inch border around. So I'm going to turn my trimmer here. All right, folks, had a little video glitch there, so sorry about that. So picking up where we left off, we've got our 6 3/4 by 10 cranberry cardstock. I didn't realize the video had stopped before I had continued on with some other pieces. So I'm a little further ahead with things. So I'm just going to backtrack real quick. So we're going to take our 6 3/4 by 10 cranberry cardstock. And if you want, you can cut out the frame. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch frame. You can cut that out to save save some cardstock, use it in other spots or for mats. And the way to do that will be, I'm going to cut, I like to start with the two shortest edges first. So I turn my trimmer horizontally. I bring the cardstock all the way to the right, all the way up. And then the 1/4 inch mark is I lost my multi-purpose tool. 1/4 inch mark on the trimmer mat is where the mat meets the trimmer here. So I'm just going to pull that forward like this, bring my arm down, and then I'm going to use these side measurements on the arm along with the white guideline on the trimming or the blade housing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that white guideline on the blade housing down. I'm going to bring it all the way here, and then I'm going to line it up with the 1/4 inch mark. And then I'm going to start cutting, and I'm going to come all the way to 6 1/2. And then I will rotate it around and get this side's cut, which is the same cut. I start at 1/4 from the right down to 6 1/2. And then I will rotate it to the 10 inch side, again bringing it all the way to the edge and to that 1/4 inch mark and close. Now you can still do the same thing, come down to that 1/4. You'll see that line, that cut line already, and you can cut all the way down to 9 3/4 on both sides. Or since you already have the two cuts, you can just turn it all the way around again using that white guideline, go to that cut line and cut over to the other cut line, rotate it around and do the same thing, cut line to cut line. And then you might just need to take some microtip scissors and cut out the corners. Sometimes that happens. And then you'll have that 1/4 inch border that you can then adhere to the scrap journal page. I then took that Starburst Mint page and I cut that to a 6.5 by 9 3/4 size. If you want straight edges, then you can go ahead and adhere. I wanted to get a little creative and do a decal edge on it. So in order to get that 6.5 by 9 3/4, I just had to push that paper out by about 1/8 of an inch beyond. So 6 1/4 or 6.5, I pushed it out to that, I think that's 5/8. And then with the decal blade, and then the 9 3/4, I brought that out to 9 and I believe 7/8 and got that cut, and then rotated the other, or, rotated around, brought the edge, the straight edge of the paper to that 1/8 mark, which is the other dotted line on the cutting mat, and then did my cuts, and then adhered to my scrap journal page. And then I was working on placing the house. So what I had done was that I needed a little extra to pull out the poinsettia pattern on the roof. And it inspired me, I mentioned I got inspired by the gingerbread trim on the houses on Martha's Vineyard on Cape Cod. So that's what inspired me to do this piece with it. So what I had done was that I punched a strip of the poinsettia in white shimmer, adhered and trimmed to fit this. But I left these nubs on because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors here into that corner, and then I'm going to cut it on the angle to the other corner. Like that. And I'm going to do that with both pieces. And so now when I put this together, it's going to look something like this. And, I can fiddle around. If I want, I can bring that house down to the cranberry cardstock, covering part of that decal on the bottom if I like that. I might want to make this a title page or so, and so I might want my house more in the middle or a little bit down here. I don't have one of the white gel pens to go ahead and kind of make more embellishments around, but I will adhere these pieces in something like that. So yeah, so that's page 1 pretty much set. You can then go ahead and embellish as the recipe shows you with some of these stickers, using your white gel pen as well to make designs, make it look like brick. If you want some extra other embellishments as well. And of course, photo placement. You would just use sizes that would work best if you're going to use that photo placement piece. So definitely use your custom cutting system guides as well. On to page 2, which we are going to use this print as our base page. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a 6 3/4 by 10 piece of that. I'm just going to get that right onto my page real quick. Okay. Now I have to decide, do I want to use that sprinkle cut or that sprinkle page that's in here, or do I want to use some more of that Starburst mint? So let's just take a little quick check here. Do I like that with the cranberry? So I'm just using this as a guide. Cranberry cardstock on the bottom. Do I like the sprinkle with it? I think I'm going to use that again, save a piece of paper. And what I can do this in decal again, because I just need one cut on the edge of it, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So I'm going to turn this, actually, get my straight edge against here. 4 3/4. No, sorry. I need this will be my 6 3/4 side, sorry. 6 3/4 here. And then I'm going to swap out my decal. I'm just going to take off 1/8 of an inch there, because I'm going to want it at the 4 well, sorry, no, this will be 4 3/4. So I'll bring that to 4 3/4, and then do my decal cut. Okay. Then I need another piece of cranberry. So I'm going to swap out my blades. I don't want cranberry in decal. The other cranberry cut will be 4 7/8 by 4. So I'm going to bring that to my 4 3/4. Here's my 7/8 mark, which is between 3/4 and the next inch up. So my 4 7/8. Pretty sure. I think that's, hang on. Well, actually, this will be 4. Sorry, folks. This will be 4. And now I'm gonna do my 4 7/8. Oops, slipped on me there. Okay. Now we can adhere these pieces. But first, sorry folks, I'm a little turned around by having to restart the video. I'm going to do my gingerbread cut with my border maker punch. And what I'm going to do, I have a piece of scrap caramel. Here we go. Now I'm going to do only 3 punches with this. So I'm going to line this up to my guideline. 1 punch, 2, 3. Like that. I'm going to just trim this out. Okay. Okay. So then, right, this is going to come basically in here and become its own little border. So I do need to trim this a bit. And I'm thinking I might do, oops, that's centimeters. I'm thinking that I might do just maybe a 1/2 inch cut on it. And here would be another spot that you could do a decorative edge cut if you wanted. Let's see how that looks first. That's not looking too bad. If I wanted this a little thinner, right, I could take off another 1/4. Just to get a little bit more of the print showing and a little more room for my cranberry. There we go. And so I do need to do a little trimming here on it because it's coming off onto the jeeping. So I have to just kind of figure out where do I want to have that come in. So I'm going to split the chimney a little. And then have to amputate his arm, but that will work. So again, whatever you'd prefer to do. Now let's get these adhered real quick. That there. Oops. And get my silicone Maco. That's the other fun part of working with me randomly. I lose my stuff all the time. Found it. Right. Get my repo tape on here. It's in the corners there. Want the edges a little more there, yes. Beautiful, all right. I'm gonna line this up here. And of course, if I wanted to, I could do another decal edge to kind of bring it out. I'm noticing it's not so easily seen here. But I could take some cranberry and see if that would look okay. Or I could just put a straight strip if I wanted to. I could even maybe do that in the caramel, because I got the caramel at the bottom here. Okay, so I just added a very, probably an 1/8 of an inch to a 1/4 of an inch, somewhere in there, by 6 3/4 strip of the caramel underneath the mint starburst piece to kind of bring out the decal a little more. And so here we have our 2 pages of the Gingerbread Fun project recipe. I just didn't adhere the house, but I will once I kind of fully decide where I want to place that. And then, so of course, our photo options are going to be somewhat smaller. So depending, you know, if you want to follow the project recipe, again, use that custom cutting circle guide to find the right size circle there. If you have, you know, a vertical circle is in place of the door. And then on the other side, the other photos that might work, certainly a 3.5 by 3.5. You'd have to tuck in the 4x4, but 3x3s, 2x2s, 2.5 by 3.5s would also work, or maybe just some journaling about the recipe that's coming. If it's a recipe book, or if it's just a holiday book, maybe it's just a journal box with a photo here, and some other decorative on the gingerbread house itself. I think all of that would be great as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Sorry for the choppiness. And if you need any of these supplies, reach out to your favorite advisor to help you get them. And hopefully you enjoyed. And again, continue to follow me, subscribe to my channel. It's all the links for me are in the details below. And definitely get your hands on the resized project recipe guide that I have in my private group. So again, you'll have to request access. So hope you enjoyed.